I just realized that I have and have always had social anxiety. But this is news to me. As in, like the past 2 days, I came to this realization. And so I'm kind of processing how I feel about it. Part of me feels frustrated, maybe a little angry, maybe a little sad. Because it's weird that I'm 32 years old and I'm only now even considering the possibility, and at this point accepting the possibility, accepting the reality that I've always had social anxiety, and it's never been pointed out to me. Like, it hasn't even went through my mind as a possibility. And the only real reason that I came to this point now is because earlier this week I was connecting with new people. I was kind of networking, meeting up with new people because I'm in a new city, in a new province, and a totally different part of Canada that I've never been. And so I was meeting up with people, someone for lunch, just as a networking thing, just to look into opportunities in the city. And afterwards, I was telling Danielle about just that experience and just how draining it was, and how kind of I was saying nervous. I was saying I was nervous, but it wasn't nervous. It was anxiety. It was social anxiety. And so I was explaining to her the details and just me sweating, preparing for it, and how I felt afterwards, and just how much of a weight was lifted off of me after getting that done. I was telling her about how I got connected with another person, and I was waiting for a phone call from them to just discuss some things. And the whole day I had the appointment written on my whiteboard. And like my mind was just completely occupied the whole day in anticipation of this call that I knew was coming in at 2:30, or I was expecting to come in at 2:30. And then when 2:30 came and it didn't come in, the mental cloudiness developed more. And the person only called 3 minutes late, but I was expressing to her my feelings and my experiences from those situations a couple days ago. And she's like, you know what that is, right? That's social anxiety. And I was open to it. Again, this is 2 days ago. I was open to it at this moment because recently I've been doing a lot of work. I've really been trying to be more introspective emotionally. I've been reading books. I've been watching videos. I've been more open to it. But if she said that just a year ago, I would have just said, yeah, maybe, and then never thought about it again. But 2 days ago when she said this, I took it. I took a moment with it. I paused. And then the past 2 days, I've been watching videos and thinking about it and reflecting on my life and all the experiences I've had through my life that I always dismissed as me just not wanting to do something or me not caring to do something. And in reality, it was social anxiety. And I had no idea. All the times that I didn't want to go out anywhere, it wasn't because I didn't want to go out. It was because I had social anxiety. I had anxiety about the experience of going out amongst people I didn't know and who didn't know me, and having to find ways to start conversation or maintain conversation or small talk. You know, just recently, I found a community center to play basketball at, and it's a new city. I love playing basketball, so I wanted to find a place. So I found a place. I went there a couple times, thinking that if I just go there a couple times, get over it, I'll meet people, I'll make some friends, and then I can continue going back without having any anxiety about the situation because I'll know them and they'll know me, and we'll be friends. Well, I went a couple times. First of all, it's a younger group of people. They're not really, we don't really resonate on the level that I was hoping that we would. And last week I stopped going. I said, no, I'll find some other place. And I told myself I'm not going because the basketball wasn't very good. And that was just a lie. I was lying to myself because I've played basketball at places where the basketball wasn't very good many, many, many times. For most of my life, I was doing that, but it was fun because it was competitive. There was fun to it. Like, it wasn't about the level of play. In this situation, it was because I had anxiety at the thought of going there again, walking in with people that all know each other and they're playing, and me not knowing what to do. How do I inject myself into this situation, into this social situation? I stand around shooting around, and then maybe no one's saying, hey, you want to come and play? It was just social anxiety the whole time. When I was younger and it's lunchtime in like high school or even college, and everyone's going to the cafeteria, they get their food and they sit down and they have a conversation. And for me, I wouldn't do that. I go get my food and then leave somewhere else. I go find a bench outside. I go find a couch in some like isolated part of the building and just put on headphones, listen to an audiobook, listen to a podcast, watch basketball highlights, whatever I want to do. And I said I wanted to do it because I wanted to spend time alone and just kind of recharge. The reality was going to the cafeteria was a social engagement that I did not want to be part of because I had anxiety about it. It was uncomfortable. I'm sure there's a deep-seated part of me that didn't even want to have a conversation because my life experience has told me or has showed me or led me to believe that I think differently than other people. I'm not neurotypical, and I've experienced having conversations and just speaking openly and people not resonating with what I'm saying, or they might find it weird because they're not used to someone being so open so quickly. Or for whatever the reason is, I've learned through my experience that I'm different. And so as I'm growing up, when I'm in social situations, I know that I have to put on a mask. I have to put on a certain filter or act the way that I think one is supposed to act in those social situations. And that just continued to escalate my anxiety. All my life, especially when I was younger, I stuttered a lot. People couldn't understand me so well because I talked really fast. And I thought, oh, I just talk really fast naturally. I just stutter naturally. No, I talked fast and I stuttered. The realization just breathe. The realization of all my life experiences that I didn't understand being a result of social anxiety, among other things that I'm realizing is overwhelming. It's very emotional. Because I went 32 years without having anyone point this out to me. And I had no idea. I talked fast and stuttered, not because it's just something that I was born with. It's because it was a learned behavior. It was an outcome. It was a side effect of me wanting to just get through conversations. I was uncomfortable and I just wanted to get through the conversation. I was talking fast because I just wanted to respond and say what I wanted to say and get over with it. Because I believed that the other person wouldn't care what I had to say, or they wouldn't understand me. And so let me just get it over with and move on. And that was most of my interactions. It wasn't because I was scared. It was because I just wanted to get it over with because I felt like my thoughts or my expressions were probably in a deep-seated way just being rejected regardless. Because people didn't respond the way I expected them to respond when I was speaking openly. Because society doesn't appreciate people that are open. Society doesn't appreciate or hold people up that are just being themselves. People we're taught in society, maybe indirectly, that we need to mask, that we need to act a certain way or present ourselves a certain way because because that's what's socially acceptable. I realized all my life where I just wanted to be alone, I preferred isolation. I thought it was a revelation to me when I first learned about introversion and extroversion and the differences when I was younger. That was a revelation to me because I was like, oh, I'm not like everyone else because I'm introverted. I'm energized by being alone, which is it's true. It is the most definitely true. But that wasn't it. It went deeper than that. It went much deeper than that. And so to the point where I would isolate myself even within my own household. I'd stay in the basement. I chose the basement because I could be alone. I stayed in the basement for the most part because I felt better, because I felt like no one else understood me. I felt like when I expressed myself, I wasn't getting the feedback I expected. When I was speaking openly and being vulnerable, there was no reciprocation. There wasn't anybody else being vulnerable with me. There was no one else confiding in me and being open. And so I felt like, okay, this is not what people are supposed to do then, apparently. I'm not supposed to be open. And so instead of faking myself in front of people, I'd rather just be alone. I'd rather be alone than fake. That was what it was. That's what it's been. That's what it still is a lot of times. I'd rather be alone than be fake, because I realized when I am open and I am being authentic, it wasn't a fluid experience. So social anxiety developed. It took being with Danielle for 5 years and her having gone through her own development and self-awareness and building her own emotional intelligence and her going through therapy in order for me to have that breakthrough to realize that I've been dealing with social anxiety. I've developed other realizations that I'll talk about in future videos. I think it's important, both for me to talk about and come to terms with, but also to make a video about. I feel like this is a form of therapy for me. Maybe because it doesn't force me to be social. I can look into a camera lens and just talk. And the more I think about it, the more I reflect on my life and all these different circumstances and situations, I realize it was all social anxiety. A few years ago, I was excelling in the role with my job. And other supervisors, my own supervisor, was telling me, why don't you apply for the supervisor position? Because there's an opening. And I was always being told how great I was doing. And I was being encouraged, apply to be a supervisor. And I just said, no, it's not for me. I like what I'm doing. And it was a lie. I was lying to myself. The reason I didn't want to apply to be a supervisor is because of my experience with social anxiety. Becoming a supervisor would mean interacting with dozens of people a day, because I'm a supervisor over a team of people, and I wasn't yet ready to face that part of me. But I didn't know. I didn't know that I had social anxiety. And I think now coming to terms with this will allow for healing to take place. Growing up, the concept of dating, I didn't put myself out there to date because of social anxiety. The idea of meeting up with somebody or reaching out to somebody, expressing my desire to get to know them more, and then going on dates or experiences where we're hanging out for the purpose of to see if we resonate, and having to think of questions and come up with topics and do the little social dance that we do as part of socializing. I just didn't care to do it. I do it once, and then I go a long time without doing it again until maybe the pain of loneliness overcame the fear or the anxiety of having to interact with another person socially that I don't know and that doesn't know me. All my life, I've always said I do not like answering phone calls or making phone calls if I don't know who is on the other end, if I don't know what they want or what they want to talk about. If I know, I can prepare. If I don't know, it's uncomfortable. And I always said to myself, it's because you're an introvert. You don't want to talk on the phone because you're an introvert. which didn't even make sense. But it made enough sense. I could justify it enough to not have to think about it again. The reason I didn't want to talk on the phone, the reason I don't like answering phone calls for people I don't know, if it's a private number, if I don't recognize the number, is because of the social anxiety that comes with it, that I experience with answering the phone call. When I have interviews, I prepare like mad. I go over all the behavioral questions I can think of or I can research for that role so that I have answers ready and set, because the idea of going into an interview with two people that I don't know that are most definitely judging me. That's definitely a sort of fear of judgment. I know they're going to judge me, and I know they're going to ask questions, and I basically have to sit there and perform. Gave me anxiety. So I'd over-prepare so that I'd go in there thinking there's not one question that they can ask me that I don't know the answer to. It makes me mad. It makes me sad. It makes me frustrated. It makes me relaxed. It takes the weight off my shoulder because now I can identify it. And when you can identify it, you can address it. When you can identify it, you can heal from it. I think I'm just mad because it's like, how did all the teachers and professors and people I've interacted with, friends, family, how did nobody notice it? How come nobody told me? I can't be mad because most people don't know. I think these type of things are just not well enough understood in society. I think the big key to my developing realization about the things that I've struggled with or who I am at a deep level comes from it being introduced to me. In this case, it's from Danielle, just introducing it to me, just suggesting or pointing out that sounds like this. Have you considered that you might be or you might have this? Was the first step. The second step was me being open to it. I'll talk about something in the future video that I've been going through, but I dismissed it for a long time. So being open to it is the second step. And then 3, being able to reflect on the thing. With social anxiety, I've been reflecting upon it the past 2 days and all these experiences that I'm sharing with you. And it just increased my certainty with myself that, yeah, it is social anxiety. Of course it's social anxiety. It's so obvious. It's so obvious. Maybe someone would have told me or hinted to me or suggested it to me earlier if I was more open. But I couldn't be more open because of the social anxiety. And the close friends that I've had growing up that I was open with, everyone has their own trauma. Everyone has their own blind spots. And the blind can't lead the blind. I couldn't lead somebody else that I might have been around that might have had social anxiety or traumas of their own because I didn't see the trauma in myself. So I'm realizing, asking, especially when it comes to social anxiety, it's like, oh, okay, so Adrian, why didn't you want to go out to those social gatherings? And I would say, oh, my answer to why is because I wanted to be alone. And I allowed myself to stay there. But if I kept on being open and asked myself, well, why do you want to be alone? Or well, why don't you want to go? It's like, well, if I'm honest with myself, the reality is because I don't want to be social. Well, why don't you want to be social? Because you've learned that being open in social situations doesn't tend to work out for you. And I don't want to be fake because I have to be fake so much throughout my life and throughout school. I don't want to do it in my free time. I don't want to voluntarily go to a situation where I have to be fake and I know I can't be authentic, so I don't want to go. Because I feel like I'm being judged. Why? Because I feel like I'm being judged or people don't understand me. So making this video has been helpful for me. It's been therapeutic. And so I hope if you are watching this, and maybe you feel like you might relate, or you know somebody that you think might relate, I hope this might just help you or somebody identify and find healing within themselves. Because this is an ongoing process for me. It's not done, but I think this is a good start. The past 2 days has been a revelation for me. Danielle really broke open that She opened the Pandora's box for my further self-realization. And I hope that this might help somebody out there, whether it's you or someone you know, maybe someone you can share this with. Because we're all on a journey. Some people stop that journey intentionally. But I'm going to keep on going. I hope this might have helped you in some way, but it most definitely helped me. I can assure you this helped me more than it helped maybe anybody else. But I hope it has a ripple effect. Anyways, I'm going to keep on ranting if I don't make a decision to stop now. So I'll see you in the next video. And thank you.